amazing, Claire. And Claire, you know, you and I have had, I was going to say the fortunate situation, I think it's fortunate, hopefully you do too, to not only work with one another, but also to be in a mastermind together, which was how we met. And I have lots of fond memories of wine in the evenings, having a good chat, or a gin and tonic. Plus, obviously, being part of Wave together, we had lots of lovely in-person things together. So I feel like we're not just online friends. We have a really good, strong foundation as friends, as well as clients of one another, which is always helpful. So today is all about hearing about your business journey, putting the spotlight on you, and really, I'm hoping inspiring lots of other founders out there to go out and grow a business that doesn't need them in doing absolutely everything. So do you want to start by telling people what it is you do, and kind of giving us a bit of a potted history would be amazing.
Okay, fab. So yeah, I'm Claire Sweet, and I am your gin-loving, alpaca-owning finance expert. I work as a financial advisor and money coach, and I work with mainly women, but not exclusively, to help them organise their finances and create a plan that moves them towards their dream, so that they are building wealth, but they still have money for fun along the way. It's not about scrimping and saving, it's about enjoying feelings of wealth and enjoying your life, because life is short and you can tuck every penny you have away for some mythical date in the future, and get hit by a bus tomorrow. You know, you need to be able to balance these things. So that's what I do. But I've not always done this. So I went to university and I trained as a pharmacist, and I worked for Boots for 17 years before setting up my own business, which I did like most people, sat at the table in the kitchen, no equipment, no staff, just me and a mobile phone and a laptop, a very slow laptop. And then we went from there. And that was back, oh goodness me, that was probably 2009. Might have even been a little bit earlier than that I started part-time. No, it must have been earlier than that, about 2007, I think, part-time. And I went into it full-time in 2011. And I absolutely love it. I've got a brilliant business. I've got now a team of people that I work with that help me. And yeah, I love what I do, which is great.
And I was just rudely about to interrupt you there, but you have what's that saying you say about like save for today? Like it's not, it's about balancing.
It's balancing today's needs with tomorrow's dreams. And that was the first tagline I came up with when I set my business up. And it sort of dropped by the wayside because I saw all these things online and everybody was all new and funky and modern, and I didn't use it for ages. And then I've gone back to using it because recently I've sort of realized that it helps people really grasp what I do, because, you know, you can be really great at that job you do and really love it. But if you've got your financial stuff in chaos behind the scenes, it can make life a bit stressful. And if we can get all of that tidied up and bottomed out for you, you're free to then get on and live your life, enjoy your family, and have that work-life balance, but also to scale your business if you want to, because you've got all the foundation stuff sorted. And it's great. And I work with such a range of people that I get to meet some brilliant people.
Well, this is where you and I really overlap with our kind of ethos in terms of getting those foundations right in business, and of course looking at it from a different lens, but within my like Scale Without Sacrifice system, we make sure that you've got things like the right structure and put in things like the right financial systems. And clearly, like obviously you do that in a very different way, but it allows you to it's one of the biggest things I find that allows people to go from their winging it to actually like having a proper business, like sorting out the financial. I don't know about you, but I see a lot of resistance towards resolving this. And I think on a personal level, I felt that in the past as well, in terms of like, just like keep doing the sales and marketing stuff. Don't worry about like the financial, like what's happening with the money in the background, like just keep collecting it.
But the problem is that is where most people's focus is. I mean, if you look at any online business owner and you look at the type of stuff that drops into their internet feed every day, it's all about 6-figure launches, make more money, make more sales, create more income. But they don't ever talk about what to do with that income when you've got it. Because for a lot of people, this for the first time ever, they've got money sat in their account. You know, as an employee, there's that acronym that means that job is just over broke, that you spend up to your means and you don't ever make any progress because your cost of living against what you're earning the difference is so small. You don't really make any progress. And I think the thing about that is that as an entrepreneur, you've got the capacity to earn unlimited money based on your skills and your talents and what you put out into the marketplace. But once you've paid off your credit cards and you've got everything sorted and you've done those home improvements and bought that handbag you fancy and all the other bits, there does come a point where you've got money sat in your account and you think, I know I'm meant to be doing stuff with that, but you sort of push it to the back burner because you think, oh yeah, no, I'll sort that at some point. And it goes on to that list of jobs that you know you need to do and you never quite get round to. And then you see the next thing and you jump straight onto making more money and bringing more money in. And the problem is that means that often your money's not working as well for you as it could, and you're spending on things you don't need to, and you're not necessarily getting the best quality of life you could. And I think if we were going to sort of refer to somebody else within our circle that we know, the wonderful Lee Howes, you know, she would say that, you know, if your bucket has got a hole in it, you need to plug the hole in your bucket. And that in a lot of ways is what I'm doing, because you can keep pouring money into the top of your bucket week after week and make more and more money. But if you've got holes in your bucket and there's money coming out, it's never going to work as well as it should. If you can plug the holes in your bucket will fill up. And once it's filled up and you've got everything that you need, it can then overflow and you can then benefit the people around you, your family, your friends, your wider community. Set up a charity if you want to, but you've then got that freedom to do what you want with your money because you don't have to worry. You're never going to be, you know, at Sainsbury's paying for your shopping and you put your card on the thing and it beeps and the lady says, oh, this one says no. You'll never be like that. You know, you'll never have that worry. You won't be sitting there scrolling in front of the TV where you're sat there on your phone absentmindedly and you get this text message from your bank that says you need to move some money or there's a payment that won't go out tomorrow. And we've all had those. But if you can get things organised, you can limit all that. And I suppose my job is trying to get people to see that it's exciting. You know, people sometimes say, oh, yeah, but sorting the money stuff, that's a bit boring, isn't it? No, it's fun and it's exciting. Imagine what it would feel like to go and book yourself a holiday. I mean, I know we all need a holiday at the moment, and be able to look at an account of money that you have got specifically for holidays and know exactly how much you can spend. You don't have to sit and think, oh, should we upgrade and get better seats on the plane? Or should I do this? So I really like this hotel, but this one's cheaper. If you've got the money there, you can just buy it. And how incredible is that?
It is incredible. But I mean, I'm going slightly off topic, but I think this is important. So for anyone watching this being like, oh yeah, but it's all right for Skye and Claire talking about this, then clearly they've got money in their bank accounts. I'm relatively new in business, or I'm going through the high investment phase at the start. You know, there's always things, isn't there, we have to invest in, and there's always things we want to spend money on. So at what point would you, if someone was sat there going, yeah, but I'll do that in the future, a bit like people planning for their retirement, like, oh, it's miles away, I'll do that in the future. Someone who isn't sat on loads of money right now and they have their business, they've got their aspirations, but they're in that very early growth phase. At what point do you recommend someone starts thinking about their, you know, their money working for them when actually it feels like anything that comes in is going straight out, or they don't feel confident yet? Consistency, because that's what I see a lot, but I know you can still have.
I think the secret is, with a lot of these things, is to not think about it as a monetary amount, but think of it as like a percentage. Okay, so when you are an employee, you pay tax each month, and the more money you earn, the more they take out as tax. And as a business owner, you have to do that yourself. You have to put your money away for your tax. And if you get into the habit when you first start out, always putting some money away every month, you will always have it. And if you do it based on a percentage of what you earn, you'll always have the right amount of money. If you decide that all your client money that's coming this month, you're going to put 20% in a savings account to pay your tax bill, at the end of the year, there will always be enough and you will never have to worry about it, which is epic. But you can do the same for anything else you want to do as well. So if you're thinking about saving for the future, and you mentioned retirement earlier, if you've got staff in your business, it's likely you're going to have had to put them in an auto-enrollment pension, because that's the law. If they earn more than 10 grand a year and they're actually employed by you, they're not a contractor or self-employed, you've got to put them into Nest, because if you don't, you can get a whacking great fine. And people do that for their staff and then don't do anything for them, which is a bit weird. So, have a look and see, and start small. If you look at the money you've got coming in each month and you think, actually, I want to get started, but I can't afford a lot, just start with putting away 2% of what you earn, or 5%. If you were doing auto enrollment like your staff, you'd do 8%. So, I mean, for a pension, I would normally say start at 8% and go upwards. But the point is, you should just get started with something, because it's like that whole thing about people wanting to give money away to charity. Now, giving money to charity is great. It helps charities. It helps your money mindset. It really gives you that feeling, I've got enough, an abundance mindset rather than a scarcity mindset, because you can give it away. But more than that, it's tax deductible, which is also good. If you are giving money away, people often say, well, I can't afford to. And it's like, well, if you can't give away 1% of £1,000, how are you ever going to give away 1% of £1 million? You've just got to get started, even if it's really small. And, when I do exercises with clients and we're looking at something they want to save up for, their dream, might be their dream home, might be a handbag, might be a holiday, could be whatever. I would always say at payday, set up a payment that goes into your dream fund, even if it's only £2 a month, but just get started. And as you see the money start to build, then suddenly you'll get excited and you'll think, oh, I could put more money in that. And then when you get that opportunity to order a takeaway, you might think, do I want a takeaway, or shall I put the 40 quid in my holiday fund? I think I'd rather have the holiday. You make choices with your money. I'm never talking to people about going without stuff. But what I do say to people is, think about what you want to spend your money on and make a conscious choice, rather than just letting it get frittered away on stuff. And that's in your personal life and in your business. And I know one of the things we've talked about before is that balance between spending money in your business, which often involves hiring somebody to help you, against that need for doing it yourself and maintaining control. Historically, I was a bit of a control freak, which caused me a few problems. And once I got over myself, I then was able to take on my first member of staff, which was quite a pivotal moment. But, there is always that balance between time and money, and if you want something to save you time or free up your time to do something else, you've got to be prepared to spend money on getting somebody else to do it for you.
Well, it's so interesting because there's so much crossover, because when you're just talking, I'm like, oh, what you do about money consciousness and like where, the choice, the freedom to choose where you spend your money. I do exactly the same with time.
Yes,
you
exactly.
Remember the exercise together, looking at how we spend our time, actively choosing what it is we do. But just in relation to like that whole house and getting started, I did your masterclass. I took your advice. It was a great masterclass, seriously good value for money. And I took your advice, and I now have 5 figures in my house account. Now, that's not going to buy me the house that I want. But as I said to my husband the other day, when he was like, I was going to buy the house, I said, no, but the way I'm looking at it is, I bought the front door. Yeah. And I bought something. And you know what? Bit by bit, I'm going to buy brick every day. And this might make you smile. I have a £27 product, and I used to always say to James, my husband, I'm like, oh, I've just bought another brick, thinking that every £27 is a brick of the house. So you do just have to start. And if I hadn't done that, I don't know, that the money would be, I don't know, it's probably still be in my bank, but it wouldn't have that purpose and connected to that vision.
And you're lucky, because you say it would still end up in your bank. For a lot of people, it wouldn't. It would just get spent on stuff. And I mean, I predominantly work with 6 figures and multi-6 figure business owners, although I've got a range of clients from all ends of the spectrum. But nobody wants to look back in 10 years and think, where did all the money go? If your business, if you are turning over £100,000 a year, after 10 years, that's £1 million. Now, if I turn around to you in 10 years' time and said, right, where's that million? And you had nothing to show for it, you'd be horrified. You really, really would. But it's one of those things that no matter how much you're earning or how little you're earning, it's so easy that you get a magazine here or a takeaway there or a lunch with a friend. I mean, I know we're restricted a bit at the moment because of what's going on with coronavirus, but in the world of an online business, this happens even more so, because you see somebody's £27 offer drop into your inbox. You think, oh, go on then, it's only 27 quid. But 4 of them's more than £100. Yeah. And it's the same with other things. You know, you add on your internet cost and your other bits and pieces, and then you have a week that goes really, really well. So you have a launch or a big product sale, and you have maybe £3,000 or £4,000 or £40,000 or a big lump come in your business you wouldn't normally have, and you think, oh, do you know what? I'm going to buy that new iPhone now because my business can pay for it, which is all well and good. But that's not going to help you at the end of the month when you've got to take your drawings out so that you can pay your mortgage. You know, you can't turn around to the guy at NatWest and say, I can't pay my mortgage this month, but look at my lovely iPhone. Isn't this nice? You know, you've got to get it balanced. And I just think with a lot of these things that if you can get it right in the early days, then as you grow, you just tweak it. You don't have to make big, massive changes. And that works really, really well.
But one of the things, like the themes of what we're talking about here, is like actually taking yourself and your business seriously and deciding like, right, this is a business. I am the business owner. I'm going to do this. And that's certainly what I talk to a lot of my clients, particularly in my program Time to Lead, is about how do we go from, like, I call it winging it Wendy to a leader like Lauren. And that's sometimes the same journey that goes on with your clients. But in terms of your personal story, Claire, like, can you talk to me about that moment where you're like, right, I'm going to back myself here. Like, this is my business. I'm going to grow this. And particularly when it comes to relation to being like, I'm not going to do all the things anymore. I'm going to invest in stuff.
So
I know you've got.
I suppose I sort of went about it backwards in the fact that I never made a decision to grow my business. When I did it, it wasn't about growing my business. It was about freeing up my time, because I felt like I was having hours and hours that I was trying to cram the work in. So when I first started doing this work, I was doing it 3 days a week round my corporate job, which meant that I was trying to fit appointments in, I was trying to fit the work in, and I had, you know, a 4 or 5 year old at home at the time, and I didn't ever feel like I got to stop. I always felt like there was stuff going on, and I'd seen various people say to me that, well, you should get yourself a VA that's going to do some of this admin-y stuff for you, and then you can just get on with the bit you need to do. And at the time, I thought, well, I can't do that. I need to have someone in the office because we are a paper-based business. So in the regulated half of my business as a financial advisor, a lot of things, certainly back then, were paper-based. If you wanted a mortgage, then some of the forms would be paper-based forms. We would have to print them out and write on them. And if you were lucky, you could email it. There were still a couple of lenders till quite recently, you had to fax it to them. Now that was challenging. I had no idea that people still had faxes, you know, in 2014 or whatever it was. And NatWest was still saying, oh yes, can you fax in your supporting documents or send them by post? And you're like, what? But anyway, so I just became aware that I was doing stuff that probably didn't need to be me. And in my previous role, where I'd been a pharmacist, although I could do everything, again, I had dispensers and pharmacy assistants and technicians who did some of the stuff so that I could then oversee and intervene when necessary. But I hadn't quite worked out how to do it in my business. I suppose my first hurdle was the fact that at the beginning I wasn't earning enough, or I wasn't earning an income regularly, which is something that is really important for all business owners to get over and to find a way of managing. And there were different ways of doing that. But because I didn't have a regular income, my concern was I would hire a member of staff. What if I get to the end of the month and I can't pay her? What is going to happen then? Because the financial services business I have is very reactive. People will call me and they will say, oh, my friend has asked me to call you. They said you can help me sort out my pension or my life cover or my mortgage or whatever. But I wasn't in control of that money coming in. And, you know, things in that side of the business, advertising and things like that doesn't work to bring people in. Nobody picks somebody to do their financial stuff that they've randomly pulled out the yellow pages. It just doesn't work. So because of that, I was always really worried I wouldn't be able to pay someone. But I thought at some point, you know what, I really need to bite the bullet. And my first lady, Sally, who is now my client care manager, she started working with me literally 5 hours a week. That was it. So she used to come over and do like 2 hours on a Tuesday and 3 hours on a Thursday, and we would do stuff together. And it made a difference so quickly that I think, you know, she started in the June time on 5 hours a week. By September, she was on 8 hours a week. And I think by April the following year, she was on 12 hours a week. Now, she wanted to work part-time. She's got a family as well, doesn't want a full-time job. She's been on 12 hours a week now with me officially. I think we put her up to 16 hours, but because she does so much overtime, most weeks she does about 20 hours anyway, but she likes the flexibility of being able to do the extra hours when she wants and not when she doesn't. But it just meant that I was suddenly free to do stuff that I could do. And even sometimes that wasn't the client generating work. Sometimes that was just the personal development stuff I needed to do, or the business running stuff I needed to do. Because I think you're completely right. Most people, when they go into business, they're not a business owner. They've created themselves a job. The only difference is they've got a job now with no job security, and they're responsible for everything and juggling all the balls. But they have still got a job, whether they are a business consultant or a plumber or whatever they are.
No boss to say you're done too long, go home.
Exactly. There's no one paying you your holiday and giving you a Christmas party. You've got to get on and do it yourself. And the problem is that you can be in that vicious cycle where you don't step out of the business long enough to look at where the business is going and what you're doing and anything else. You're just firefighting. Every day you get up, you deal with the massive stuff on your desk. When you finally have enough, you shut your computer and you get up the following day and you do the same. And at one point I couldn't get out of that because I never caught up long enough to create enough space to actually think, what am I meant to be doing? And I'd never heard of business strategy. I'd never heard of marketing. I'd never heard of anything because I worked for a corporate where this was all done for you. They gave you standard operating procedures and said, you do it this way. And you got on and you did it that way. And you didn't have to think about anything. And now suddenly people are saying, oh, well, yes, you need to be thinking about promoting this and email software, that, and all these bits and pieces. And trying to actually make decisions on these things was a nightmare. But yeah, getting Sally into my business was the first step. Following on from that, then we decided to get another assistant, which we did. And she was absolutely lovely, but she was somebody I knew, and she came in between jobs, then went on maternity leave and then went back to her original career as a teacher. So I was very sad to lose her, but ultimately I completely understand why she did what she did. And then we had another couple of people who we worked part-time, who didn't both work out for various reasons. And I learned a lot about the recruitment process as a result of that. I mean, I'd recruited people in my corporate world, but again, it was all, a lot of it was done for me. You didn't have to worry too much about stuff. And then, yeah, we basically sat down and worked out over the course of this year, last year, I'd been watching the stuff you were doing, and I thought, actually, we need to bring someone into our business, and now is the time to do it. And typically, Sally and I had been up to Manchester. I was a speaker at Womanifest, a big event up there in March last year. And we had about 4 hours one way or another on a train. So we sat there because it was the only time we got out of the business to do it. And we actually planned out, who is this person we want and what do we want them to do? And how many hours do we need them to do? And where does it fit? And we did all that. And we came back thinking, right, time to recruit someone. And then suddenly coronavirus hit, everything shut, and we all had to go home. So,
which was about the start of the point when you and I started working together, because I remember being like,
exactly,
right, we need to do something different. You got to a certain point and you built an incredible business and you're doing amazingly. And it's like, I just want someone else's perspective on taking this up to the next level. And I remember part of my role was about assessing, well, what talent have we already, what strengths and what knowledge have we already got in the business? Because clearly Sally has been an incredible asset to the business. And it's, how do we utilize not only your skills, but the people who were working for you? And I used the analogy of like making sure we got the right seats on the bus, so people sat in the right spaces in the business so that we can utilize talent. And it's all about getting not just the business owner, but everyone who's working for that business up the value ladder so that they are bringing in the best possible return and enjoyment.
Yeah, and I think it is that thing. And I was building on what I already knew. And I knew at that point that I just wanted to get it done. Now, I have got to that stage in my life and in my business now where I am not downloading anybody's £39 thing or free guide to whatever, because it's going to sit in my inbox. You know, I don't know about you. Someone told me that you can get the Kajabi app on your phone, and I put it on my phone, and you log in with your email address and you put in any email addresses you might use. All the courses you've ever signed up through Kajabi all jump up on the phone, and you think, I got no idea I even signed up for that, because there's all this stuff that you think, oh, I really must get to that, and you don't. So yeah, I did completely the opposite of everybody else. And at the start of lockdown, when a lot of business owners were like, oh dear, what am I going to do? I was like, do you know what? We could go quiet for a few weeks. I've actually got time to do this stuff. And I invested with you, and I invested with Lee. And I thought, now is the time for me to get my staff and systems organized to free up my time. And then Lee can help me work out what actually I want to be doing with my life, which I didn't really know either, because I'd got so caught up in the hamster wheel of doing the thing, but I never actually stopped to realize that a lot of the thing I was doing I didn't enjoy. And over the course of this last 12 months, it has been transformational for me. And I think a lot of it is the mindset thing. You've got to be prepared to let somebody else help, and to appreciate that other people's skills, whether they are people you're employing or consultants you're bringing into your business, they can do things and see things that you just can't see. And yeah, it's 100% been worth all of it. And the lady that we hired as a result of working with you, Caitlin, she's absolutely amazing. She does exactly what I need her to do. And even down to how we've structured the business and the roles, there's sort of little things that happen and you don't realize how pivotal they are. So one example is that we send all of our clients a birthday card. They get a handwritten card from us. I've always done it, and we always do. Now, when we were office-based, which prior to coronavirus, I'd have said we have to work in an office because we use all this paper. Now that we've worked out the wonders of Trello board, Google Drive, and all the things that let us work remotely, Caitlin writes the cards at home. So she's got the cards at home, and when she runs out, she goes onto Amazon and orders some more cards and has them delivered on my account to her house and just gets on and does it. I said to her a little while back, oh, you know, let me know if you've got any receipts for stamps, and I'll put the money in your account, because what I've always done with whichever one of the girls writes the cards, they're usually going past a post office or a post box. So I've always said, if they don't mind, if they can get the stamps, I'll give me the receipt and I will reimburse them the expenses. And with the exception of Christmas, when we do like 100 quid's worth of Christmas cards, that tends to work quite well. And I said to her in passing a little while back, I said, oh, you know, don't forget, if you've got receipts for stamps, let me have them and I'll get on and do it, because I was sort of aware I haven't seen her for some time. And she said to me, oh, it's fine. She said, I send them over to Sally and Sally puts the money in for me, because that's what an online manager's meant to do. I don't need to pay my staff expenses. That's what my manager does. That's her job. And it works. And it's amazing, because historically I'd have been like, oh, I need to pay that. I mean, she pays the bills, she does the invoices. I had to set up on the banking this year. Whereas historically, I'd always done all that. And actually, it just goes to show that the things that are meant to happen behind the scenes are actually happening. And I was just so pleased.
Example, Claire, I love about this example. So take something like stamps, it's so small. And I have another client who, it used to be the Zoom link. It'd be like, the blooming Zoom link, find the link. It's this small example of how that stamps is just one of 200 things you've got in your head at one time. And if we can start removing those 200 things so that you only have 20, then you can spend the time doing the stuff you want to do. And it's not just the stamps, it's all the other stuff that's happening without you having to consciously remember, ask. And I'm not saying nothing's ever perfect, but with the right systems and processes, which you've been so good at implementing, and the right people in the right place, you are able to liberate yourself to do what you want to do. And I see that in a difference in the way you're showing up online, the different things you're offering. Like, tell me, like, how kind of removing yourself more from the bread and butter of the regulated business, how are you using that time?
Well, it's given me time to do so many more things, because it's meant that I can focus on the work that I'm doing with my coaches and people that I'm working with, which are helping me to up-level how I'm coming across on social media and the product offerings that I've come up with. It's giving me time for the amazing book project that we are both part of for the summer, because there's a book coming out in the summer which is going to be amazing. And I actually wrote my first bit today. I had an appointment cancelled on me today. I thought, I'm going to do it, and I have written the first 300 words. It's not loads, but I have done some of it. Whereas yesterday I was just sitting there looking, thinking, when the hell am I going to fit this in? I've still got to fit this in. So it's freed up time for that. It's also meant that I can take holiday. It's meant that, like yesterday, I had a doctor's appointment that cancelled last minute, and I was able to send my husband a message because I'm out in a cabin in the garden and it's got snow here. I'm not going to go in the house when you've got a mobile phone. So I sent him a message and said, appointment's cancelled. And he said to me, do you fancy a lunch date? We'll go down to Marks and Spencer's, get a sandwich meal deal and sit in the car, which is what we did, because at the moment with lockdown, that's the best you can hope for. I couldn't have done that before. I couldn't have just said, do you know what? I'm going to go out for an hour and a half. Bye then. Because nothing would happen. And the problem is, and I think if you've ever been in a corporate job where you've had an important role where the buck stops with you, you get into this mindset that if you don't do it today, you're going to come in tomorrow and it's still going to be sat there. You're just going to have to do it tomorrow. It means it's very hard to walk away from the desk, because you just think, if I don't do it today, I've only got to do it tomorrow, because there's nobody else picking up the slack. Whereas now I find that so many things happen behind the scenes that I only have to go in and pick up the slack when they're not here. So I had, if somebody's gone to a funeral or they've gone on holiday or whatever, then I might have to go and check my own emails just to check there's nothing urgent in there. But other than that, I don't. And it's been a really hard step to take, a real conscious step to take, because there have been things and there have been times where I see something come into my email and I think, oh, I could just, and I think, no, mustn't do it, leave it to someone else. And I've actually had to stop myself because I think, oh, it'll only take me 10 minutes. But the problem is, it doesn't take you 10 minutes. One of the biggest things, and I'm sure you talk to your clients about this in terms of time, is we always overestimate how much we can fit into the time we've got. And we always think things will take less time than they have. So when you say to your husband and he says, are you nearly finished? You say, yeah, I'm only going to be 10 minutes. I've just got this email to send to my list. And 45 minutes, you're still there. And he's like, I thought you were coming in to do dinner. And I'm sure it's not just me, because you're sitting there smiling as well. And I'm sure we both do this. It is that thing, because you think, well, sending an email, that's only a 10-minute job. And since we started time tracking, which again is something that you suggested we do, albeit I get the girls to do it and I don't do it anymore. It's amazing actually how long things actually do take. And it's, being able to just do the things you want to do. I mean, I know that I've got client appointments booked in my diary, but actually if all I do is do those client appointments, that's it. And the stupid thing is that none of this is rocket science. But there is still so many people who don't get it. A couple of weeks ago, I did a meeting with all the other financial advisors that are part of the group that I'm in. There's about 25 of us. And one of the directors of the company actually asked me to show the flow chart that we use about who does what in our sales process, because there are so many people there as financial advisors who are still doing all of it. They answer the phone when the client rings up. They book an appointment in the diary. They send them out all the documents they need. When the documents come back, they upload them to the file. They do the appointment. They do the research. They key the applications and do all the regulatory stuff behind the scenes. And they do it from start to finish. Whereas now I'm at the stage where I only get involved in the bit of the process that I need to be involved with. If somebody sends in an email that's got 3 months bank statements and 3 months pay slips for two people, especially if he's paid weekly and it's 13 pay slips, doesn't need to be me there for half an hour uploading that to the Google Drive. But historically it would have done. And that's what having a team means. It means that half hour, I can chat to you on this, or I can make a cup of tea, or...
But on that, Claire, for those people who, so I have a lot of potential clients, prospective people who come talk to me like, oh yeah, but I'm not ready for that yet. That's great, but that's when I'm a bigger business, or that's in the future. And you said yourself about some of the things you personally battled with was around like control and wanting to let go, and obviously the investment side of things too. But what advice would you give to someone who is sat there going like, yeah, I mean, it's just easier for me to do these things right now and quicker, and I need to do it, and I'll outsource or delegate stuff in the future. What advice would you give someone in that position?
I think my first bit of advice would be to work out exactly what you need to delegate and then find the right person to do it. So I had a bit of a nightmare experience a couple of years ago with a VA, because I wanted a flyer being designed to go, that I was going to email out to some people. And I gave it to this lady to do, and it took her hours and hours. She really struggled with it, and we ended up almost having a falling out over it, because although she said she could do it, it turns out it's not actually where her specialism is. And I know this lady is amazing, because I know other people work with her and are really, really happy what she did and what she does for them. But in terms of the relationship we had, it just didn't work. And I know that a lot of that is because I didn't set the expectation right from the outset. So what I would say is have a look at that thing that seems to take you a lot of time. So a lot of people start with their business email inbox, okay? And it could just be a question of paying a VA maybe a couple of hours a week to go in and do half an hour a day in the morning, to go in, delete the junk that can be deleted, and flag up to you the other stuff that's important, or add it to your Trello or Asana or whatever calendar system you're using, or send you an email, or I know some people use Slack and other things like that, to just say, these things have come in you were waiting for, this lady wants you to call her, and don't forget it's your grandma's birthday on Thursday, or whatever is in the emails. Because on an average day, I probably get somewhere between 40 and 80 emails, more than half of which are stuff that doesn't need dealing with. They are people emailing you saying, can you do a customer service survey for the recent something you've bought? Or they are, we're writing to let you know that later in the week we are launching a new product. Brilliant. Well, tell me when you're launching it. I'm sure you'll send me an email then, you know, and or we're withdrawing a product. You know, that might be relevant. If it's something I was planning to use and I need to use it by a deadline, yet that might be relevant. But a lot of the emails we get are not actually stuff, you know, you're invited to a so-and-so webinar, it's on a Friday, don't work Fridays, delete. That doesn't need to be me.
Okay, so without going through someone's inbox, what I'm hearing is, though, is start small, start somewhere, and make sure that it's something that, you know, there's a process you can follow, which is what I teach as well.
Yeah,
there's a process.
Exactly. It's having that thing, but being specific. Be specific. You know, you might just have, I mean, people do outsource in their business without thinking about it. I mean, most people, except for maybe.
And then I get called in because it's gone wrong.
Yeah, but if you think about it, most people, when they start their business, the first person they tend to hire in their business is an accountant. Most people, that is their first hire, is an accountant, because they get to the stage they're either limited and they need an accountant, or they are a sole trader and they think, I need some help, I don't really get the numbers, and they bring in an accountant and they dump a shoebox of receipts on their accountant, and their accountant deals with it all. And yes, you might pay that accountant £500 to sort out your tax return or whatever, but in your mind you've already decided that the benefit of paying for that is much better than you having to try and go through and work out what on earth you're doing with it. And people seem quite happy to delegate that. But once it gets past that, people sort of struggle, because I think the other thing you have to remember is that there are things that you do that you can do, but they're not your area of expertise. You know, I can paint the wall in my office, but it's going to take me longer and I'm going to make more mess than somebody who knows what they're doing. And sometimes it is just looking at what will make my life easier. And I think, you know, that's something we talked about, you know, is if there is a particular task, you know, has to happen as part of your business and you really don't like doing it. And the way that you will know you really don't like doing it, which sounds all a bit arty-farty and woo-woo, is if you think to yourself, right, I need to go and plan out my Instagram this afternoon. If you go, oh, you don't want to be doing it, find somebody else that can do it for you. You know, there will be that thing in your business where if you write it down the list and you think to yourself, right, this afternoon I'm going to do whatever it is, you will either get a, yeah, okay, or you'll get a, oh God, do I have to? It's those things that one by one I would try and outsource.
And what what I love about what you're explaining, Claire, is that you really are, like, you have embraced the ethos that we work to, and what I adored about working with you is you are an all-in person. You take action, you go for it. You had a vision of, let's remove me from the bread and butter part of the business, and I only want to do the client-facing stuff, which is ultimately where we got to. And what I love is, though, and I always say this, like, my work is not once it's done, it's like rinse and repeat stuff. It's the ethos of how you run your business, and I love the way you've embraced that, and culturally you're using that within your business, and also creating in your life. Now, just to finalize, obviously you and I have worked together. If for anyone who's in that place of thinking like, oh yeah, what Skye does in terms of growing my business without having to sacrifice things and freeing up my time to do the bits that I'm great at, etc., and part of that's delegating. For those people who are thinking like, yeah, but again, I'm not quite sure, I'm on the fence about, my group program, for example, which I know is not specifically what we did, but it's the exact same principles. I'm on the fence about that. What might you say to them to encourage them to put on those brave pants and say, go for it?
I think what I would say is you have to think about what you will gain from it, but also what you will lose out on by not doing it. Because most people who go into business, they do it because they want some element of flexibility or freedom. And yet most business owners, when they start, work more hours than they've ever done in their corporate life. And when they finish work, they don't switch off because they've always got this stuff whirring around in their head. They've got ideas of what they can do and all of this stuff. And I think being able to get support from somebody like you who can help them separate that role between the worker who's the doer and the manager entrepreneur who is looking at the business as a whole and then putting the things in place, I just think it's invaluable, because otherwise you are never going to get your nose off the grindstone long enough to enjoy any of the money that you're making, because every day will be a work day, and you will be that person who says, oh, I can't go on holiday because if I go on holiday I don't earn any money, because if I don't work I don't get paid. And there needs to be systems within your business that enable you to still create an income every day of the year. Even if it doesn't physically come into your business, you need to have things set up so that you can still pay yourself every single month, like you did in the corporate world. You still get paid when you go on holiday, and it just means you need to get things organized a bit different. And that's not stuff that people teach you. That's not stuff that is out on Google. You need somebody who knows what they're doing to show you. And, my work with you was amazing. I know that you run these courses and masterminds, and they're always really well attended. You get absolutely great reviews off them. I chose to do it one-to-one because that's where I am with things. I just want to get on and get it done. Like you said, I'm just one of those people, and that's how I work best. But obviously the investment in a one-to-one program is that much more than a group program. So for somebody who wants to get started and wants to sort of dip their toe in, I think, your group program is amazing because it's going to give people a chance to actually put some of the stuff in place, which will free up their time. They'll then have more time to make more money. And then once they've been able to do that, it spirals from there, because you can.
Positive spiral.
Positive
So Claire,
spiral.
Last question before I ask where people could connect with you. Just 3 words. I know you love words. Just 3.
3 words.
Describe to me, how would you describe where you're at now in 3 words?
I'm the boss. Freedom and flexibility, probably.
Okay. And tell me, people who've been inspired to sort their money stuff out and to grow that pot for that dream home, and I have to say, I really hope you share your Instagram handle, or if not, we'll put it in the link, because I love your Instagram stories. They genuinely inspire me to be like, I need to not think about a safety net of cash in the bank. I need to make this thing work because it's just losing me money at the moment in the bank. So I really have been inspired by your Instagram. So they can connect with you on Instagram at Claire Sweet, or you Piece. I'll leave you to tell everyone.
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram as Piece Together Money Coach. And you'll find me on Facebook. Feel free to friend request me, because a lot of the content I do put on my personal profile or you can use my page, which is Piece Together Money Coaching with Claire Sweet. And yeah, I mean, there's lots of ways you can connect with me if you'd like to chat more. If you're somebody who has got money questions, and you want to get some free content and some ideas, I run the True Wealth Show every other Monday. It's on my page. It's a free Facebook Live, which will give you some content. Or you're very welcome to reach out to me personally if it's a specific question. I know often people don't want to talk or share about their money issues, but there's lots of things I can help you with, from buying your dream home all the way through to creating that master plan that puts you exactly where you want to be, in charge of your money, still with money to buy gin when you want.
Oh, and gin lover, I know, and crazy alpacas. Claire, thank you so much for joining me today. I really loved seeing you, connecting with you, just having a general chat. And I know you will have inspired lots of people out there who are ready to grow their business and have been in a position where you've been as well. So really appreciate it. Thank you so much. I'm
no problem.
Stop sharing.
Yay!